Hey everyone, Tactics here, bringing you guys another 9.1 PTR Roundup video. We got a few interesting things this week, including a dev interview with Morgan Day, the previously mentioned Holy Paladin nerfs going up, and much more. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to be notified when I post more Warcraft content, and let's start off with just the official patch notes from Blizzard. Now, a few of these things were actually just unannounced changes from last week, namely this conduit here for Demon Hunters, where it increases the hunt's damage over time effect instead of the initial effect. So overall, it's actually going to be a nerf to them in PvP, so it prevents their burst a little bit. But it's actually pretty decent for them in things like Mythic Plus, where you're making use of hitting multiple targets and you're getting that dot going out on more than one target. So overall, it's probably a pretty healthy change for that conduit. Stellar Drift did get buffed again. So last week we saw it go up from 25% to 50%. This week we're seeing the cooldown it's putting on Starfall go down from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. So honestly, this talent is looking to be in a very, very good spot now. You're still going to have, I believe, 4 seconds of downtime on your Starfall. But overall, I mean, it's going to be very good at cleaning up or burst AoEing ads now. So it's in a decent spot, I'd say. Then, of course, we have the Holy Paladin nerfs. They were talked about by Ian back in his interview a week or two back. And, of course, here they are. So, they did get a buff to their Flash of Light, so 20% healing on that. And they had a change to their Infusion of Light proc. So, it now causes your Holy Light to generate a Holy Power instead of 30% additional healing. Which means on your beacon target, you get 2 Holy Power. So, just a nice little boost to their Holy Power generation. And previously, I believe Paladins were just not casting Holy Light and just not casting Flash of Light, right? So they're trying to change up their playstyle a bit here. They got a flat 8% damage reduction, obviously necessary. And Ashen Hollow had its damage reduced by 10% for Holy Paladins specifically. So this nerf does not affect Prot Paladins, it does not affect Ret Paladins. This is just to Holy Paladins that are Venthyr. So they got an extra nerf on top of it. Then we saw Hammer of Wrath, a Judgment nerf, 10%, 10%. Crusader Strike has its mana increased from 9% to 11%. Honestly, that's not going to be too bad, I don't think. They already really weren't using much mana with it. And then the major thing that some people are upset about here is the Crusader's Might talent. It now only causes a 1 second cooldown reduction of Holy Shock from 1.5 seconds. There's also this bug fix here for the Venthyr Conduit for Holy Paladins. I'm not sure how much of a damage loss this is going to be, but it is there. So yeah, Crusader's Might is the main thing a lot of Paladins are upset about. The lack of cooldown reduction kind of hurts. So I think with the increased haste values coming in this patch, it'll kind of balance out this change near the end of the patch. But obviously, that doesn't feel great having to increase your gear level to feel the same as you are now. But I think it's hard to deny that Paladins needed this nerf. They needed this for sure. I know I saw a lot of Kyrian Paladins saying that you were collateral damage. That's just not true, man. Most Paladins are Kyrian, and even Kyrian Paladins do some insane things. Right? People say the Kyrian Paladins only do the same damage as like a Resto Shaman. Difference being, though, is that Resto Shaman has to purposefully press only damage buttons to do that same amount of damage. So these nerfs were definitely justified no matter what kind of Paladin you are. And honestly, you're still fine. Like, Paladins are in a perfectly fine spot even after all of these nerfs. Don't panic. You don't need to worry. You will be okay. From here, Symbol of Hope got a little buff. It's now 18% of missing mana over 5 seconds, and then obviously the 60-second cooldown of the major defensive immediately. So just a little buff there, but again, it's missing mana. If this was 18% like overall mana, I could see that being much, much better. But yeah, missing mana, not great. These were also things here for Warlock that went in last week. Basically, I think Kalamazi has a video on this. If you are Warlock, you probably already know. But basically, their various damage buff talents now affect their pets. So things like Shadow can increase your Tyrant damage, your Imp damage, your Infernal damage, those kinds of things. That's a nice little change for them, and definitely a little buff. Conduits. We'll talk about conduits in a second here, because they have added some existing conduits and the upgrade system for the new conduits in the patch. And then we have the new Mega Dungeon, Tazavesh, is now available. It looks fantastic. It looks fantastic. Please, please, Blizzard, put this into the Season 2 Mythic Plus rotation. I know it's probably not going to happen. It hasn't happened with any other Mega Dungeon, but I can hope, okay? Moving down, more rune carving powers. They're almost all in, so when they are all in, I will do a video on all the rune carving powers, but for now, we'll just leave it. And then we have the new rep, which is how you get some new stuff. And then we have some Soul Ash changes. So, one, they've increased the amount of Soul Ash you get for your completed run. So, currently it's like 570, so that's been increased. And then repeat runs will give a partial amount of Soul Ash now. So you can just do you can just kind of farm up Torghast to get those Soul Ash to get your legendaries up on top of the account-wide kind of trading system of Soul Ash. I mean, these are kind of things that I really wish they were in here at launch, but at least they're implementing it before 9.3. Now, the conduit stuff. So people aren't really happy about this. I'm not too surprised. So it's basically been announced already, but it's just confirmed now. So it's essentially a new Venari type system, except it's a different rep. So Stygia doesn't matter. It's a new currency. It's a new rep. You have to grind. And it's basically the exact same things where you have the random upgrade sockets, and you can get it up to the Mythic Eye level of 252. And then you have the random upgrade conduits, and then sockets. Same deal, you need to get to like a rank 6 of this reputation, and then you can buy it with the new currency. So this is all Korthia stuff. But yeah, I'm not surprised by this. I know a lot of people aren't happy. I don't really like the random upgrade system, but hey, it wasn't too surprising that they just put in a new one instead of putting a new system in to get it. Then we have the interview. I will link this for you guys if you want to see it. But pretty much, just to give you guys the Spark Notes, they're doing some stuff with Torghast. There's a bunch of new cosmetics, no twisting corridors, no twisting corridors. For class balance, they mentioned the Holy Paladin nerfs. They also, of course, re-mention AMZ, so DKs, that's coming. AMZ's coming. AMZ nerfs is coming. Mistweaver monks, they mentioned that are getting a buff, which you can see in a few weeks, hopefully. And they also specifically mentioned rogues again, as wanting an like needing something compared to a class like warriors or DKs. For conduits, they did mention there's going to be a new endurance conduit that's for every single class, one for every class, so it works for all 3 specs. And there's going to be a new tank potency, as tanks currently only had 2 potencies, as opposed to the 4 that everyone else had. So there's going to be a new tank potency as well, but that is it for new conduits. They did mention BOEs. They said there's going to be less slots now, so instead of 4, they're aiming at 2 or 3, and they're going to lower drop rates. I'm perfectly fine with that. Would love less BOE slots. And then they do talk about the domination sockets, which aren't fully in yet, but basically they're the raid system to make raid gear better in raids. And they're going to have these 3 types of sockets: Blood, Frost, and Unholy. You'll have 5 total sockets allowed. And basically these sockets give specific buffs on their own, which work in every form of content. So Mythic Plus, PvP, raids. But when you have 3 of the same type, it gives you basically a set bonus. And that only works in the raid or in the Maw and Korthia. So you get a set bonus only in raid, and then you get the actual gem effects in every form of content. Honestly, it doesn't sound too bad. I'm not too upset by this. Even as a mainly Mythic Plus player, like this sounds perfectly reasonable to me. And we'll have to see how the actual effects work out, but it sounds like an interesting system. Yeah, aside from that, they briefly mentioned Mythic Plus and how they're perfectly fine with it being a little bit lower eye level than raids from actual drops. I really hope they, maybe not next season, but the season after or something, implement some way for higher key pushers to maybe upgrade their gear up to Mythic eye level. But again, that would require a Valor rework, and I think I've talked about that once or twice on this channel. So doesn't work with the current iteration of Valor because it's like Conquest, but you also have to pay it to upgrade, so it's like trying to be both Conquest and Honor, and it wouldn't really work for this system because you just would be able to upgrade like 1 piece a season. So yeah, it wouldn't work with the current system, but that's something I'm holding out hope for. Obviously, patch will release soon. TM. No actual date yet, but hey, Sloot had to try. We do also have raid testing happening this week again. So the last 2 heroic bosses that aren't Sylvanas will be on Thursday, and then we have the first 2 bosses in Terragru and the Eye on Mythic happening Friday. That is it for this week's updates to the 9.1 PTR though. If you found this video useful, make sure you guys like and subscribe to support the channel. It really does help. Also, a reminder that I will be streaming all that raid testing over on my Twitch at Tactics, so feel free to stop by and hang out. That's all for me though. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.